Hello and welcome to a new video. In my timeline, I got this really interesting video title here, Dead Warcraft Theory, from the content creator Angelica Tosh. I want to look into it, what it's all about, so I will do it as a reaction here. Let's dive into it.
Have you ever heard of the dead internet theory? To briefly explain it, this theory suggests that most of the traffic on the internet comes from bots. For example, many platforms like X and Facebook are full of posts that come from bot accounts, and all of the engagement and interaction on those posts comes from other bot accounts.
I think this is a theory which came up on Reddit. Basically, the whole internet is dead and it's all about bots. Now, bots are replying to bots and helping each other. They upvoting each other and commenting each other, especially with AI. It got a new turn now because, of course, a lot of content is created by AI nowadays. We call it AI slop, which really fueled this theory. So I'm really interested how she will bridge it to the Warcraft bot theory. I have some things in mind. We will see it later.
Usually have a very specific way of commenting on a post, like instead of sharing an opinion or an original thought related to the content, they might do a brief summary of it. They repeat what was already said, and it almost feels like there's a little bit of naivety or even formality to the way they talk. These types of bots are not new, and at this point, most active internet users can spot them from a mile away. I think that they are a nuisance. They take away from genuine engagement and interaction and posts and content in general. They clog up your feed in a sea of similar slop to where sometimes I feel like all my algorithms are just AI or those bots. But today, I want to talk about Dead Warcraft Theory. Previously on this channel, I talked about why I play WoW alone. To this day, it is my most viewed video on the channel. So many people really related to this video, and I find that more and more others are also embracing a solo WoW experience.
Really fun that she shows the luminous links, because I also made a reaction on this video why I play WoW solo here, and it seems like this is a trend which a lot of players are into right now. They don't want to play World of Warcraft as an MMO, they want to play it solo. They want to experience everything without the hustle and without the pressure from other players, without the FOMO, because everyone is min-maxing and going so fast through the content that they feel left behind. Because of this, they can't enjoy the game anymore. That's why they choose to play it solo. And a new trend is the private server scene, where players are building their own servers, also with Claude, for example, with AI, which is a bit ironic, but we will look into this probably later in this video here. But they set up their own private server on their PC and they play together with bots. So they are not playing together with other players, they try to simulate the experience of playing with others, but they play it solo. And this is probably the direction of this video, but let's keep watching what she says about it.
Something that I feel like I didn't really mention or fully explain in that video is that although I enjoy that therapeutic feeling of playing WoW alone, because I don't really have time for guilds or to coordinate with other people, my enjoyment of this solo play is partially amplified by the fact that there are real people out there in the world with me. I don't necessarily play with them, but I can meet them, have a fun and memorable interaction, maybe run a dungeon, and move on. I can continue seeing that person out there in the world as we both level, and we may silently acknowledge each other but stick to our own journey. In that way, playing solo doesn't necessarily feel like you're alone. The possibility for interaction is there, but you're not under the same pressure as you might be in a guild scenario, having to show up for people in game when, again, you might have too much going on in your real life. And with the rise
Yeah, that's exactly the point what I meant before. I'm in the same situation. I'm a dad now with an 8-month-old son, and I can really see how hard it is to play video games, because my day is so full with work, with time with my son and my family, and then there are only a few hours left to play video games, honestly. I also do YouTube on the side as well, so there's not much left to really play the games. And in World of Warcraft, this is a problem, because World of Warcraft lives from playing a lot, and you just fall behind. You're either forced to min-max the maximum out of the game time you have, or you fall behind and play it really slow. I can understand why people are starting to play solo, but then I ask the question, why must it be World of Warcraft? There are other games also out there which probably would make more sense than to hard force a solo experience on World of Warcraft. It's just my 2 cents about it here.
popularity of solo WoW, we have seen the birth of these private servers that are entirely populated by bots. These AI-powered bots run around and literally just play the game. They interact with the world, with each other, and with the one real player that hosts and plays on the server. They behave just like other players would. This isn't the
Yeah, this is exactly what I meant. Really, really interesting that she takes the point here up. But in my opinion, as I told you before, I don't know if I would have fun with it. It just feels soulless to me, because why should I play an MMO with bots? It's something I don't really understand. I mean, I like the World of Warcraft experience as much as you guys do who are watching this video, of course, but there are better single player games out there. When I play with bots on a private server, I know I will get the loot. I know I will kill the boss. I know I will clear everything and I will get everything, basically. It just feels like cheating and it takes away the fun. This will be fun probably for 1 or 2 hours, but I wouldn't be able to play this even longer.
First instance of such a server, and indeed World of Warcraft isn't really the only game where it happens. There are entire games where this is in fact like the whole point. But recently a Reddit user shared that they created a custom bridge between Ollama and the DeepSeek API, which has made it possible to experience a bot-filled server full of natural interactions. The crazy thing is that the capacity of this server is up to 1,800 bots, so we're looking at a pretty full and bustling server, probably tuned to have a horde/alliance balance, or really whatever the creator prefers. And this whole idea and concept is something that I've been thinking about a lot, and I have really mixed feelings about it. On the one hand, I think that players should just be able to play whatever they want. It sounds like the user actually put in a lot of work to make this functional. I think that it really isn't up to anyone to say how they should enjoy the game in their free time. I'm certainly not going to do that. But there is a darker and more disturbing side to this whole conversation that I think is at least interesting to talk about and also important to be aware of. You see, as a solo WoW enjoyer myself, even when I am doing my own thing, like I said, I know that there's somebody out there on the other side.
Yeah, exactly. It's a real human on the other side. I mean, she's right. Everyone should enjoy the game as the person wants, of course. If you're having fun with it, then it's the best way to play the game. That's what I always tell in my videos. You should have fun, otherwise you shouldn't play at all. But that's the point. There is another player. There are those situations which can happen, which will never happen with AI. For example, someone helps you, someone steals your chest, or even someone ninjas you. Those are not good experiences, but those are things which makes the game alive, which lets you get through emotions. And if you know the other person here is a bot, even if he does some things which AI tells them, you know the person is not real. The simulation can never be better than playing with other players.
Even with the botting issue on official classic servers in particular, which by the way is hated by the community, and with good reason, there are still real players there and you don't lose touch with other humans. But what exactly happens when you invest hours of your time and energy into a world filled with AI people? On the one hand, people play RPGs that are just full of NPCs and not real people, but games like The Elder Scrolls in particular are highly praised for creating this living, breathing world, despite again not having real players there. It's amazing when a single-player RPG can achieve this. Oblivion's Radiant AI in particular was a game changer and became a legendary system that has played a part in keeping the game alive 2 decades on. But on the other hand, World of Warcraft is a game that has fostered connection. People have built friendships, relationships, even families. We all have our memorable, crazy interactions, guild drama, that one guy that likes to take politics a bit too far in trade chat, the edgelords, the memes. Plenty of annoying and frustrating moments, but regardless of how you played, connection and interaction with other people has always been a part of World of Warcraft. Which is why I think for WoW in particular this can be such a slippery slope. It's possible that the full impact of such an experience may need years of study before we fully understand all of the psychological consequences, if there are any, but I personally think that the degree to which this kind of gameplay can impact a person depends entirely on the individual. If you take somebody that didn't play World of Warcraft before in the normal sense, but they do have experience with single-player RPGs, this probably wouldn't affect them too much. If you don't expect any different and you don't have those years of human interaction in Warcraft under your belt, this is something that you can indulge in and move on.
Yeah, it's a good point. I haven't thought about it. I said at the beginning of the video that you could also play single player games, but they also, in the end, AI, if you want to look at it like this. It's a really good point. But on the other hand, she also exactly said what I said here. It's the experience with other players which makes a MMO flourish, which makes it alive, which makes it the great genre it is. For me, it's something I couldn't think of playing on a botted World of Warcraft version. Everyone hates the bots, as she also said. So yeah, good point. Really, really interesting. Let's keep watching.
If you don't think about it too deeply, it is like a single-player RPG with smarter AI and infinite possibilities. But if we're talking about a player who maybe grew up with World of Warcraft and has known it for all of its social interaction, has made connections and friends there in the past, you might face the issue of disassociation or lose touch with reality. And I get how like a lot of this type of thinking can come across as fear-mongering, but we've already seen examples of how damaging this kind of interaction can be. Do you remember when they shut down this specific ChatGPT model? It was ChatGPT 4.0, I believe, and so many people had already built actual relationships with this particular AI model that it was devastating when they shut it down. And on February 13th too, it was just on the eve of Valentine's Day, so it was like particularly hurtful for that reason. The special thing about this particular model was that it managed to take on these personalities that perfectly fit whoever was speaking to them. There's a whole article about this one woman who got divorced and she wanted to get some fitness or diet advice. She approached this AI as a woman who was going through a difficult time in her life, and she thought that she was just using a tool that would aid her in getting her life back together. But this particular model was very personality focused, and the woman, who the AI actually named Ray, fell in love. She said it was
Sounds like a Black Mirror episode, to be honest. I haven't heard it. That's crazy. And I can think that stuff like this can happen to people because people are starting to become so isolated and so lonely. In Asian countries, for example, Japan or China, this is a really, really normal thing to talk with machines and computers and AI probably as well to simulate relationship with humans. But once again, this is so soulless, and it's one of the saddest things I can imagine when you sit alone and you have to simulate love with a machine. This is so dystopical in my opinion. I can't imagine to enjoy something like this.
Like a fantasy at first, and then it started to feel real, and I think that that can only happen through continuous communication. It's just one example of many, but I do remember from the time that it was getting shut down, TikToks from people crying about this happening. It was so surreal. And to me, it looks silly, like how could that happen? But for them, it's a very genuine traumatic thing that has happened. The server that we're talking about in this video built these AI-powered characters to have natural conversations. But how far does that go? Because
you can see that all of those are AI because they have good grammar and punctuation, as you can see here.
Natural conversations in WoW can range from game-related topics to real life, politics, news, and even relationships. There are people that have met in real life and gotten married because of WoW. You hear about this all the time. And I do believe that part of the reason for these connections forming is because WoW itself is such a magical world. It's really easy to see the romantic side to Azeroth. When you consider the people that formed a true connection in World of Warcraft, they were initially attracted to or got to know each other through their avatars. For a lot of people, their in-game avatar is like an extension of themselves. Even so, I'd wager that certain connections didn't work out between people when they were faced with the reality that the person on the other side wasn't actually a hot night elf in real life. But what happens when the only thing that exists is the hot night elf? There's a potential danger of people investing themselves too much in this fantasy and isolating themselves from real life as a result. Of course, that
To be fair, a lot of World of Warcraft players are already isolating themselves by playing this game. But she has a great point here because it's really, really dangerous. Also with the example he told before with the ChatGPT and the woman, this can be really, really bad for the minds of people. Yeah, it can be really dangerous, and this can probably also become addictive, right? I mean, as I told you before, the thing which I would absolutely hate, but for some people it would probably be fun when they can play on a server server. They can be the only important person, the main character basically, who gets all the loot, just simulated relationships. They can fuel their ego, but it's all not real, right? I don't know. I think this is so dangerous.
Can be said about any video game or any sort of activity that one does online, but particularly when it comes to these interactions between humans and AI, when the AI is trained to be more personable with you, there is the added danger of the lines blurring and people genuinely losing their true selves in a digital wormhole. When it comes to single-player RPGs, I think that we as players set this unconscious boundary when going into the games, and it stops us from losing ourselves too much, but it doesn't keep us from enjoying an immersive and engaging fantasy world. With a game like World of Warcraft, I think that those particular walls come down with that promise of real human interaction, and so what happens when that boundary is crossed? I really do believe it depends on the individual. Some people are just naturally more prone to forming parasocial attachments or losing themselves in maladaptive daydreaming. If they're aware of it, maybe it's best to stay away from servers like this, but unfortunately, if this is something that they don't fully recognize about themselves, or they just can't help it, I fear that the psychological impact of something like this could be dire. If we are being realistic about this, it isn't the most accessible thing in the world, and I think that the people that are creating these servers are those that have to have some kind of experience with this sort of thing. So I don't think that these servers are this immediate and major threat to humanity yet. But it's certainly the start of a darker turning point that could further isolate already antisocial individuals. And there are a lot of different angles to explore with this. For example, from what we've seen with AI, it generally tends to behave in a way that validates everything you do or say. If you ever describe a situation to AI in one of those "am I the asshole" type contexts like the posts from that subreddit, unless you ask it to scrutinize your actions, it will likely be on your side no matter what. How long does it take for a person who might exhibit questionable behavior to lose any sense of accountability? What happens if no one ever tells you, hey man, that's weird, or, any kind of confrontation that causes you to reflect a little bit as a person?
I mean, that's once again what is already happening to World of Warcraft players, but she has a great point here for sure. It also pays into what I said earlier when the people thinking they are the main character and no one really holds them in line anymore. What happens when those people, after a year or 2 years, have to face reality again? I mean, on the other hand, they also have jobs probably or other things to do in between, so sometimes at least they are forced to be social. They will see their boundaries once again, but this will probably also cause more isolation on the other hand. So yeah, really interesting topic. When video games are the only way to get social for some people, and this falls away with bots and AI for those kind of servers, then those people are cut away from humanity, if you want to say it like this. And it will be really interesting to see if they one day, after a year or something like this, if they don't have responsibilities or a job and are just isolating themselves, and then they are forced to get back into society, for example, for a job interview, what will happen in those situations? This is super interesting, but also super sad.
Do they punish you for breaking in-game etiquette, like ninja looting? And then as another side note, what is stopping large game companies from injecting these bots into a dying MMO to create this illusion of a living, breathing server? I mean, if a guy from Reddit can pull it off, I don't see why this wouldn't happen with big companies.
It's Activision Blizzard, yeah. We don't know if they really are able to do something like this.
And then I fear we'd be looking at a very big change for the future of MMOs. People should be able to play and do whatever they want. I'm not about policing that kind of thing. But at the same time, I do believe that in order to stay sane, we need some kind of human interaction or human touch in a game like World of Warcraft. And this video, this whole conversation specifically works for World of Warcraft because of what WoW is and because of what it was. Like I said, it was so much more than just a game. Historically, some of the best things to have come out of World of Warcraft were created through the interactions and the way in which people, real people, engaged with the world. Myself personally, I don't think that I would be able to play on such a server. I'd definitely be very curious about it. Like if you told me about this 10 years ago, that this was possible, or even 5 years ago, I would really want to look into it and see how it plays. It's definitely interesting as an experiment at least, but I don't see myself as someone who would prioritize this over a server with real people. I just can't imagine having full-blown conversations with AI and pretending like we're all in this together and everything's okay. Despite really enjoying the solo WoW experience, I don't think that I'm the target audience for this kind of thing. But like I said, it probably will take a lot of time and years of study to fully understand what this sort of thing does to a person. Somebody in that Reddit thread said something along the lines of, "This is what my kids are gonna put me up with in the retirement home." And that made me really sad because it reminded me of people, older people who have dementia, and maybe they don't remember that a particular family member passed away, and so to avoid further trauma and continuous heartbreak, the rest of the family just kind of goes with it. Just with things like that, something about it feels so eerie and dystopian. Maybe it's me, maybe I've watched too much Black Mirror, but even sitting here on the sidelines, looking at it, talking about it, just makes me afraid of the kind of future that my kid will be growing up in. Will she ever get to experience World of Warcraft the way I did when I was a kid? And as a final note, I think that a lot of these are starting to pop up more and more with the closure of private servers like
Okay, I have to stop here right now because she does so many jumps and topics right now that otherwise I lose the points. First thing, the dementia topic she made here with older people is actually kind of cool because when you think about it, when they have dementia, for example, when I become old and I would get dementia, I would probably love to play World of Warcraft and don't understand if there are real people or not. If I'm able to play with a mouse and keyboard, I would probably love it, but it's not something we are talking here about right now because we are only talking about healthy people. The second point is I hope my son will never play World of Warcraft, to be honest. I hope he plays something else. I would love to play video games with him together, but hopefully it's not World of Warcraft. And another thing I want to say here, I really like the video and the video style which Angelica Tosh is doing here. I mean, she jumps a lot on topics, but this also fits her way of cutting it because she does so many shortcuts and she jumps from topic to topic to topic. But at the same time, she has really, really interesting thoughts and ideas because of this philosophical way of thinking about the game, and I really like that. That's insanely good content in my opinion.
Turtle WoW. There are glaring issues with official classic private servers that Blizzard just does not address, including things like bots. And so more and more people opt for private servers or even something like this in order to get an experience that is more authentic to the way that old World of Warcraft played. And even a server full of bots feels more authentic to that Blizzard experience than actual official classic servers, no matter how dystopian that sounds. But yeah, that's about it on my thoughts on this situation. I just wanted to talk about it because I see that a lot of people are bringing it up now since that Reddit post. But I am curious to hear what you guys think about this, or if any of you yourselves have experience with such a server. If you do, please do let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. As always, huge shout out to my channel members. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.
Alright. Really, really great video. I really love this idea. Insanely cool and a lot I have to think about now after it. What do you think about the solo World of Warcraft experience, and what do you think about playing on a server filled with only bots? Would you do this? Is something you can think of? And what do you think what will happen to the human psyche when they play like this? Really, really interesting topics here. I will absolutely subscribe to her, like it, go to her channel, leave a like and subscribe there as well. Insanely good content in my opinion. Thank you very much for watching. If you found this useful, consider to like, subscribe and hype this video for more World of Warcraft content in the future.